Peace talks between the Ethiopian government and rebels are continuing in Kenya. The African Union-led process is hosting senior commanders from both sides following the signing of the permanent cessation of hostilities agreement in Pretoria. The parties agree to stop the war that has been raging since November 2020. Coletta Wanjohi reports from Addis Ababa.
The delegations from the Ethiopian government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, who are the rebels, will deliberate on how to implement a permanent ceasefire in the country's north. A conflict that began 2 years ago is yet to end.
We are very much keen in moving forward, though political delegates actually reached to the agreement, but now it's up to the military as to how to implement that. We will reach at the timetable, but what is now crucial and what we have to move forward fastly is our people in Tigray, particularly where TPLF used to be, and that our defense forces have not reached at, need aid shortly, and we have to expedite this process so that we have to begin services. Services have begun in the areas where our defense forces are there, but in the areas also where we had not access, we have to quickly reconnect services, both telecoms, energy, and banking systems.
The head of the Ethiopian National Defense Forces and the chief of the Tigray Defense Forces are the focal people in the Nairobi talks. At the previous meeting in Pretoria, the Ethiopian government and the rebels agreed to recognize only one national defense force. So their focus in Nairobi will now be on how to implement their agreed program of disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration of the TPLF combatants into society. This meeting is expected to provide a clear roadmap for the resumption of humanitarian supplies and restoring services that had been cut off in the Tigray region. The African Union Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Olusegun Obasanjo, who is leading the peace process, says the establishment of a hotline between the government and the rebels is a show of hope and goodwill for a return of peace. Some analysts say the fact that other parties, such as the neighboring regions of Tigray and Eritrea, who are parties to the conflict, were excluded in the Pretoria talks, as well as this Nairobi process, may pose a challenge as to how what is discussed will be implemented satisfactorily on the ground.
Now we have inked an agreement showing our political commitment for the peaceful resolution to the conflict. We may have overreached in terms of giving too much details, giving too much specifics about what can be done and what cannot be done. And it is time for the very people who have a deeper understanding of the realities on the ground to figure out how to go about it and to make sure that whatever we come up with is going to result in a lasting peace, not a publicity exercise where we may say we have agreed on a number of things only to renege on our promises and to do things that will set the clock back on our peaceful arrangements.